Welcome back. All right, so Tuesday morning. Good to see all of you here and everybody's present. Yes, yes. Go ahead and have a seat. So September 21st. So we're getting into fall, which is of course hockey time, right? So we're starting to see training camp rosters being released and fans pouring over them and going, "Where's Brady Tkachuk?" That would be Senators fans, and Brady Tkachuk isn't on the list because he's not signed. And so Cap Friendly's moving unsigned players to contract disputes on their website, which is true because at this point, any unsigned or restricted free agent, it's a contract dispute. So now it gets kind of interesting, doesn't it? So in the case of Tkachuk, we haven't heard anything new since his brother basically planted that bomb out there of they're not close. So all of the discussion during the summer, which was, well, he's going to be the captain, and oh yeah, no, they're going to give him an 8-year deal, and oh, this is going to be great. Maybe not. And in the case of Ottawa, there's a public perception that players don't stick around there long term, right? So it's important that as they start to build themselves up and they're hoping for, cup contention and all of that wonderful stuff, it's important that you keep that young core together, right? So if they're not able to get Tkachuk signed, that's not going to, necessarily reassure the part of the fan base that wants to see that long-term stability, wants to see that build towards being a contender. So hopefully they get Brady signed quickly here, and he ends up at training camp. Because, yeah, the games are going to get started this weekend, and then the games that matter are 3 weeks from today. So not a lot of time between now and the start of the regular season. Speaking of players coming to camp, Alex Galchenyuk gets a professional tryout with the Arizona Coyotes. He played for Arizona before. He had a 19-goal season for Arizona. And so it makes a lot of sense for the Coyotes to reach out and, give him a shot. As well as it makes a lot of sense for him to look at a chance from Arizona and say, I could win a job there. The Coyotes have jettisoned so much in the offseason that, Galchenyuk might get a shot at a decent top 9 role with Arizona. I know he played better in Toronto after they picked him up last year, but I still think that you want more out of him than what he gave Toronto. And I think that his play in the playoffs was suspect at points. And so hopefully he can get his game back in Arizona. The other interesting thing with the Coyotes is they've put in a $1.7 billion bid to basically revitalize Tempe. And it reminds me sort of what the Calgary Flames were doing with, say, Calgary and all that. And that seems to have resolved itself that the Calgary Arena should be getting built relatively quickly here, right? The thing is, buildings don't get built really quickly. So the $1.7 billion bid in Tempe is great. But where do they play next year? Where do they play for 2022, 2023? And so there's a couple ways you can go about this, I think, if you're the NHL. Find them an arena that's not an NHL level arena in Arizona that they can play in. One that has to be close to an international airport for teams flying in and flying out. They don't want to do big bus trips. Okay, we've flown into Phoenix. Now this is where it gets kind of tricky. It's a 6-hour trip, and just be careful. Keep your hands in the bus at all times. Just be careful. It gets kind of dicey that last hour. But yeah, so they can either do that, right? Or you could find them a temporary home elsewhere and either look at it as a chance to see if other markets could support the NHL with an eye on maybe 34 teams at some point or 36, or just to, maybe appease fans in one area, whether it's Houston, whether it's Kansas City. You would think it has to be a central location. So if you're in Canada, Saskatchewan might be an option. But of course, with Saskatchewan, there's a lot of other logistics there that have to get worked out. But for the Coyotes, it would be a temporary home. And then when the Tempe Arena is ready, it might be 2 seasons outside of Arizona for them, where they're just, I don't know what you call them during those 2 years either. But yeah, there's a couple ways this could go. It's going to get interesting. And of course, there's the chance the city of Glendale works out some kind of a year-by-year agreement with them until the new building opens up. That's optimal if you're the Coyotes, but I don't know. It sounded like that's probably not going to happen in the statement that was released by the city of Glendale about kicking them out of Gila River. So we'll see how it goes. They'd have to at the very least pay off whatever they owe on that lease and make sure they're making all their payments on time and really work with the city to make that work. But we'll see what they do. So I guess there's 3 options. Stay in Glendale, work it out, find another arena in the state of Arizona that's still close to an international airport, or find a temporary home elsewhere and then come back. And again, if you did go to, say, Houston and prove that market can make it work, then you can get that, $750 million or $800 or $1 billion from Tillman there in Houston if he wants to be the owner, and have yourself a team coming into play as an expansion team, maybe the year after Arizona's left. So Arizona finds their new building, they get it all built, and the year they go home, we get a brand new expansion team in Houston. Bam. So we'll see. I do know that the NHL likes money, and expansion fees just go to the owners, so owners like that. Now, some Flyers news. Flyers fans may not be happy with this. Wade Allison, it's a right ankle sprain for Wade Allison from the other night. So he's going to be out for a while. But there's 2 players who are going to be out 6 to 8 weeks, starting with Samuel Morin, who had knee surgery on September 10th. 6 to 8 weeks for him. He gets injured regularly. This has been an issue. Hopefully after this, Morin can get back to good health and stick around with the Flyers. But the more noteworthy here is Kevin Hayes. Kevin Hayes had abdominal surgery. He's also out 6 to 8 weeks. So this is going to test the depth of their forward group in Philly. Kevin Hayes' contract is pretty high. It's always what gets talked about with him, but it's made a lot of sense for Philly. So he's played very well for Philly, and they're really going to miss him if he's out for an extended period. So they're going to hope it's more towards the 6 weeks than the 8 weeks, but we'll see. Philadelphia feeling the injury bug already, and we haven't started training camp. May not be the greatest omen, or maybe they're just getting it over with now. Bobby Ryan is returning to Detroit on a professional tryout. I'm anticipating Bobby Ryan probably gets that tryout and aces it and ends up with a contract with Detroit. I'd be kind of surprised if he doesn't. I'm honestly a little bit surprised it's a tryout and Detroit didn't just flat out sign him. He played well last year, and so hopefully Bobby Ryan, gets another year in Detroit. I want to close out with this too. The only update with Pettersson and Hughes in Vancouver, and it stings that it's both, is that it's not... The talks, it sounds like, aren't ugly between both sides. However, there doesn't sound like there's a deal that's close. Those talks are becoming more urgent, a little bit more tense, and eventually things like this usually do get ugly. So the sooner the Canucks get these guys signed and into camp, the better. Brock Besser said yesterday that he's sure that they'll get signed and brought into camp. But what else is he going to say? It's one of those things that when you ask a player, do we really expect them to say, "Oh, nah, they're in Bermuda. They're gone. Why would they be here?" And then you have Jack Hughes as well talking about the Canucks being one of the worst teams in the league. And of course, Canuck fans saying, well, the Devils were one of the worst teams in the league. He didn't talk about his own team. And based on last year's records, he's not wrong. The Canucks finished at the bottom of the North. So, yes, they are trying to bounce back. Yes, they could bounce back. Yes, they could end up in a playoff spot. But based on last year, they were one of the worst teams in the NHL. So, without Pettersson and Hughes, that could get really ugly. But we'll see. We'll see how things turn out and when/if this all gets resolved. This was all supposed to be resolved in the off-season summer. And once you get into training camp, it's no longer the off-season as far as I'm concerned. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. The other part of it, too, is that if Pettersson and Hughes sign, and it puts the Canucks over the cap with their signing money, then Benning has to do other, steps in order to make sure the team's cap compliant. It's easier if you get them signed sooner. But hey, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. Just tapping upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.